So you have quite a history with being in the Marine Corps. How many years were you?
21 years.
21 years, yeah. And you've done a ton of different things in the Marine Corps. Tell us, in your experience, how has the conversation about equality shifted or changed? Like, what have you witnessed in your experiences?
Yeah, so when I first joined in 1985, there were few women, right, especially pursuing anything remotely related to combat arms, which would be anything from infantry to tank commanders, which we call armor, to artillery. Maybe the closest thing you would see is women Marines in combat engineer units.
Okay.
But certainly nothing frontline combat, right? So since then, over 30 plus years, there's been tremendous change and many more opportunities for women to fly in combat, to be engaged in ground combat. Even some of the support units now, you see a lot of women they're in the Marine Corps, they're combat action ribbon, or, unfortunately, Purple Hearts as well. Now, we did in the Marine Corps just recently have the first female to complete and graduate from the officer infantry course.
Oh, wow.
Which is a huge deal. It's a really huge deal because at
amazing.
least 30% of men don't make it through. So the fact that she made it through this course is a real testament to her determination, her strength, her intelligence, all these things combined that make it such a challenging course to complete successfully. And she did. So I don't know where she'll end up, but I'm certain that she'll face challenges. I mean, she will definitely have some challenges. I think that the young Marines that she's ultimately leading will challenge her every single day. And you'll see some of the old guard will think, why is there a woman in my battalion now? But, they're going to have to learn to accept it because she met the requirements. And they weren't, it wasn't scaled for a woman. Mm-hmm. She met the same requirements that men are required to achieve. The definition of feminism has changed, right? I grew up in the 60s, so that was back in the days of bra burnings and, I think the beginnings of the strong feminist movement.
Yeah.
So, I think today that feminism is more looking at not just gender equality, but workplace opportunities, providing equal opportunities in the workplace. My father was an entrepreneur, had his business for years, and then my mother was a stay-at-home mother. But at some point in the mid-'70s, as my brothers and I were in high school and getting ready to graduate high school and go to college, she said, you know what, I'm an entrepreneur too. And so she was probably the first female entrepreneur that I knew starting her own business. So
that's awesome.
And she was in business for, I don't know, almost 30 years, I'd say. So, it was like a coming of age time for women in business.
Yeah.
It's funny, I've been asked during job interviews if I would have a difficult time working for a woman.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and which I thought was almost discriminatory in itself, being asked a question like that. And so,
why does it actually matter?
Well, my answer was, am I going to be? And even in the military, I've had commanding officers who were women. In my current company, both our COO and CFO are women, and we're in healthcare IT, and IT is traditionally a male-dominated industry. So seeing more and more women, especially as I go out and work in hospitals and health systems. Just last week, I was on the East Coast giving a talk at a health system during a conference Chief nursing officer for the entire health system, a woman.
Wow.
President of their flagship hospital is a woman who took over from David Shulkin, who is now the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. So I see more and more women moving up into the C-suite, not just in companies like mine, but in healthcare in general. You see more and more women moving into the C-suite in Silicon Valley. So, Fortune 500 companies, it's becoming a more and more common occurrence. Well, that's great. Keep creating all these opportunities for women, and then you're supporting men as well, because we're not having to compete with some of these awesome women for some of the opportunities out there, right? That opens the door for me.
That's true.
So
it's definitely a great perspective. It works both ways, for sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, keep doing it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Of course.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's awesome to hear about
Thanks.
your work. But
happy to be here.
if you guys have any questions for Jay later on, feel free to ask them. We'll make sure that he gets them and we can get you an answer. But we will see you next time.